What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live show. So we've got so much to get to today. I have some guests that are going to join me. We are going to hit on, we've got like 4 or 5 things since our last live stream to talk about. I think we're getting stuff every day now at this point. So real quick, before we get moving here, make sure to like and subscribe. And as you are doing that, I am going to bring on my 2 guests. Now, we get 2 of the threesome here. But from the Black Tower podcast, we have Andrew and Daniel. Welcome. What's up, peeps?
How diddly ho, neighbor.
Howdy, bros. Thanks for joining. I was trying to stall there because Daniel was like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, I'll just keep talking until he...
That was perfect.
It worked out well?
I just had to grab my headphones because otherwise I was going to give you echo, and that's like the worst technical thing I can imagine.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not ideal for live streaming.
Yeah.
So, guys, first of all, before we dive into all the stuff, who the hell are you and why are you on my show? And tell these people
I
who
ask
you
myself
are.
that every day.
Yeah?
No, we are the Boys in Black from the Black Tower podcast. We've been on the airwaves for some of us 4 years, 3 years.
Into the 4th year.
Into the 4th year. There we go. That's why it into the 4th age. Nice. We started, or Andrew and a buddy that he met online started the Black Tower podcast back in 2018, 2019. Yeah, 2018. And they were on for a while. And then unfortunately, the other member needed to step back and do actual family things, lame. But then he put out a call and got Josh and I on in a little bit of a choppy fashion, but that's a story for a different time. And now we've been on as the 3 hosts that you know today for about 2 years together.
Which, little known fact,
a lot of fun.
You guys were my very first collaboration ever as a YouTuber. I think I did your podcast, Andrew, when was it? It was in the end of 2018.
Yeah, it was really early on. We're talking, these were the days whenever Daniel Green was still sub 5K subs.
It was tiny.
I think you had just started and we're at 2 or 300 subs or something.
You know what I just realized? Yesterday was my probably should have done something about this, but yesterday was my 3-year anniversary of making YouTube stuff. So it wasn't that long after this. Well, thank you, Daniel. But it was not that long after this, I don't think. And I think you hit me up. You're like, do you want to do a collaboration? I'm like, I don't even know what a podcast is, but sure, let's do it. And here we are.
Indeed.
That's how it goes most of the time.
Well, guys, we're going to talk about stuff today. Hopefully the Wheel of Time.
Well,
so what's kind of nuts,
us, so you might not.
Well, if you guys have been under a rock here lately, the Wheel of Time show account keeps dropping stuff daily now. So this cadence here that they're going through is one that I don't think any of us can kind of keep up with.
Absolutely.
I'm struggling to get the ones from last week done, and now I'm like, shoot, what am I going to do? But what I want to do here, I want to throw up the clips real quick, and we'll take a gander at. Basically, I'm going to do all 3 in a row. Okay. And then we'll actually, no, screw that. Let's just start with the farthest or the one from today, because it's the one that's on everybody's mind. Let's just talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip. And we'll go from there.
Action! The Wheel of Time is an epic world of fantasy and people who have extraordinary abilities and power. The whole world will turn to darkness. The stakes are incredibly high.
That's the exciting thing about the series. It gives you something emotional and intangible that feels unbelievably special.
The Wheel of Time is an epic world of fantasy and people who have extraordinary abilities and power.
The whole world will turn to darkness.
The stakes are incredibly high.
That's the exciting thing about the series. It gives you something emotional and intangible that feels unbelievably special.
So, okay. That's still, first of all, like I have to say, my initial reaction, that one is the best one they've done. Well, like, okay.
I don't
Initial
disagree.
reaction, go. What are we hearing here? And while you're doing that, I have to put on a wig because in case you guys aren't familiar on my live streams, this is what happens when they tip.
Boris Johnson? Is that
Yes, pretty much. It's like a cross between Boris Johnson and a Karen.
So I want to see Brexit's manager.
Right? Yes, just like that. So, all right. You have to take me seriously while I do this now. But
I will do my best.
what were your initial thoughts? Like, how many times, number one, have you guys like watched that clip now?
Oh
He's
god,
like 2.
it's in double digits, but I don't know where between 10 and 20.
I lost count. Yeah.
What I mean, like, okay, am I wrong in saying that I think this is the coolest clip that we've seen yet?
No,
Like, I even like this better than the trailer. I know that sounds stupid, but like I don't know. Maybe it just hit differently to me because the trailer was cool, but like this to me felt like, oh god, this is the Wheel of Time. Like, I don't know. I just had that. It was a different. It hit differently to me.
I would say that if I wasn't such an avid reader, if I wasn't a huge fan of the series already in book form, I would think you were weird. I would look at the trailer and be like, that's so cool. That's so much more, intentionally put together and edited and blah, 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 blah. That, it gets me super hyped for the series just in general based on what it looks like it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
However, this one, for a number of reasons, the smallest of which being just hearing Rosamund Pike say words I've said to other people describing the Wheel of Time, is so different. As you said, it hits different, I think, to the book readers. Whereas, like, you see little flashes of things you have no idea are, like Thom sitting in an inn with the guitar and the braid throw of Nynaeve. If you've never read the books, you have no idea why that's cool. But the first time I saw it, I was like, yes!
Well, the thing that's cool for me is, I don't remember which Q&A it was, but I think it was around the time whenever the concept art pictures came up, Rafe was asked, hey, are y'all going to release either before, during, or after the show, like composite stuff of like all the concept art and different things like that? And Rafe said, yes, we're going to release a full, like, kind of behind the scenes documentary style thing. To me, that's what this is part of.
Yes, absolutely it is. Honestly, I think that's the part to me that I liked the most, was that I do like the behind the scenes. And I think it adds so much legitimacy to seeing like what they're doing when you're seeing it. Like, you see the skill, like those are not CGI locations, guys. Like when they're walking through the White Tower, that's a real set. They built that damn huge waygate. Like
exactly.
The scale of that thing is huge. That wasn't just playing with camera angles to make that thing look gigantic. Like, it actually is gigantic. So like that was
I get that a lot.
to me. And there were so many things in that. Like, I can't wait to do like a frame by frame breakdown. Okay. We're gonna kill the wig for a second. But I can't wait to get through that. But like, I guess before I answer this, I want to hear from you. Like, what were maybe some of the scenes for you guys that like stood out in that? Like, if you can think of any.
Oh, gotta think of any.
Right? All I've been doing all day is thinking of them.
There's two
Andrew,
that stand out to me. Yeah, so there's two that stand out to me. The first one is the Whitecloaks. And I love the way their garments are done, but all I could do, and I don't know why. Apparently, I'm a stickler for like banners and symbols because I bitched and moaned and complained about the Watt fandom thing for Eridomon being wrong for like years. And seeing them have the banners of the Children of the Light, and them actually, I still do, but they corrected it. Seeing them actually absolutely nail the banners for the Children of the Light, I was like, yeah, it's, confirmation that they read. Not that we thought they didn't, but it's like fine details like that. The second was the first look at that the Shinar and heavy cavalry. That's pretty fucking dope.
Yes,
heavy cavalry is badass. Nah, I'm excited.
What about you, Daniel?
So, fun fact, mine was also the Whitecloaks, but for a similar but different reason. And that is that they look so different than I expected them to. I absolutely was picturing, knights in shining armor that was also just everywhere there could be cloth, it was white. And that's not what we're getting. These are like monks almost. Like they look like almost monk garb. And I am not disappointed with that. I think it looks amazing. And so like I'm very excited about those things that are going to be different, but that I like. Because I know that there are also going to be things that are different that I don't like. And I'm latching onto the ones that make me happy. And
well, you know what?
That's what matters.
It's interesting. We got such a small glimpse. It could be that they just didn't have their armor on.
Also possible, yeah.
Like there's a possibility there. They weren't in battle, so it's not. I mean, they probably might not be wearing their armor, which is a little odd because knights would not be wearing their armor all the time. So, right,
the Whitecloaks are always in battle. There are dark friends.
That's true. You make a good point.
point.
I did think seeing them was really cool. I agree with the banners. To me, the Whitecloaks.
I disagree with garb.
You don't like it?
Daniel's wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
The part to me that that really I think stands out, and the reason that I thought that I liked this a little bit more than the trailer, it's not that I was like more impressed with this.
Sure.
This just felt, I think it hit home to me more that we're getting the Wheel of Time because I saw the Whitecloaks, because I saw Shinar. Like we saw Thom having the doors of a house or something bust open. Like we don't know for sure, but there's a shot there. So it was like a number of the scenes that there have been question marks about, where people are like, are they going to show this? Is it going to be there? Or how's it going to play? And then like seeing that stuff was like, oh, okay. Yep. We're getting it. Here it comes. Like, I don't know. It's hard not to get excited. And I'm already accused of being a shill too much. So like, I don't
Do
want
the people who accuse you know who you are?
Well,
because fuck that comment.
Right? Apparently not. But I guess it's hard to not be excited, in my opinion, at least. It's hard to not be excited. That being said, I mean, I don't love everything. There are some things that I'm changes that I can't wait to see. Like where I'm going with all the changes is I can't wait to see why they did them, like, and try to piece together, like, maybe why did you do this? Like, why did you guys go to Tar Valon in the first season? What was the rationale there? Like all that. But that being said, on the whole, like I was very, very impressed with it. What did you guys think of Thom? Wait, now hold on. Are we all going for white stash? Am I messing something up? I'm not sure what that means. Are we dyeing our mustaches white?
Oh,
do not tempt me.
I don't know. Not sure.
Right?
Almanas. Not sure.
I don't know how work would react. I'm sure they just would look at me weird like they did whenever I shaved my head, but
you shaved your head?
Yeah. Whenever we did the
it was the Watcastathon.
Oh yes.
Well, the first one when it was still the podcast.
The first one, yeah.
Came on and to shave my head for Matt Hatch's approval into the Galdean cut.
And Josh and I both shaved our mustaches so that we looked like Ilianers.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video.
It's pretty epic. We talk about Wheel of Time for about 3.5 minutes. Then we go into getting donations for shaving different parts of our body, including my mustache, Josh's mustache, Andrew's head, and Josh's legs, which he does not do on screen.
So
he
we
does
do the
later.
opposite.
You know what? I do
Donations
remember
to the
this
movie.
now. I do remember that. I remember watching.
And then we had Joe come on and be like, "You guys do realize that you've talked about Wheel of Time for about 3.5 minutes on this Wheel of Time podcast-a-thon, right?" And we were like, "Oh, we're aware." Are you aware that we're the Black Tower podcast? And
I was going to say, isn't that what you guys do on your podcast?
Yeah.
But back to the original question, like, what did you guys think of Thom?
Just like the rest of the story gives characters time to grow, he obviously has plenty of time to allow his illustrious and infamous mustaches to grow.
Mm-hmm. Is that a change that you're okay with? Like, Daniel's like, it looks like you're like holding back here. Like, are you okay with his mustaches not being down to here?
Yes and no. I mean, it's definitely a detail that I was hoping for. It was definitely a detail that I was not, or that I'm not a little bit disappointed isn't in the show, that he has these, handlebar mustaches that are lovely and incredibly well kempt all the time, and blah 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 blah. But at the same time,
how really important
he looks
is it to the
so
story?
Good.
Really not.
He
does
so good.
I mean, they definitely leaned into like Zaddy Thom,
right?
Like that's what that is.
If you wait, do we have a spoiler warning? Do we need a spoiler warning?
Everything I do spoilers. So yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make 100% sure. I just wanted to throw out there that in the book, my view or my headcanon for Thom means that I understand why people don't see the relationship between Moiraine and Thom, but television show Thom, I can't imagine that anyone doesn't want to jump on him all the time, always. Right? And therefore, when we get the Moiraine-Thom relationship, or if we do, technically, no one should not see it coming, because it's just like, yeah, that's what you do to Thom.
Let me throw this out there to the chat, and we'll take a minute to catch up here. But like, what do you guys think of Thom? Let me know. Like, do you like what we got? I mean, obviously he's hot. I think that's hard to deny here. But like, is that what we want from Thom, or were you looking for like a 70-year-old man? Because here's my opinion. I think that the difficulty in translating writing is to do the things that Thom does in the book. Like, you really can't get a 65-year-old man to do that. Like, that sort of defies reality a little bit, because I don't know many 65-year-old men that can do backflips off of right, and juggle, and I mean, just they're those aren't things that 65-year-old men can do typically. Okay, and I guess you're making Thom into a superhuman of sorts. Then sure, but so I understand,
which you are, but at the same time.
Well, right. I understand. I understand aging him down a little bit. So let's hear what some of the
maybe their plan is to let him grow it out until Elaine tugs on them, and then he's going to immediately shave them off and be like, never again.
Okay, so let's see. We have 70-year-old man doing backflips. Let's see what Chansonnet. Thom can get it, but I don't have an opinion on the characterization just based on this one glimpse. And I think that is true.
Well, of course, yes.
We see him with the guitar, which I think still a very good choice. My personal opinion. Thoughts?
Oh, I agree.
Oh,
for TV, I think it's a really good choice. Does it hurt a little bit? Yeah, but
it didn't hurt.
That hurts for book reasons. It may not even be clear to hurt in the TV series.
I'm going to be called not a big book purist. I'm sure somebody will comment, have you even read the books? But that didn't hurt me at all. I thought it just made sense. Jay Diggity, $5. May you always find water and shade. See you in C-Bus. Heck yeah, you will. You'll see all three of us in C-Bus. Which we'll talk about a little later, but yeah.
The only reason I say it hurts is like the amount of care and attention and like emotional attachment you get to see Rand like give to the harp.
Yeah.
And still like be afraid to touch it after Whitebridge.
Well, and
it was a good like heart-to-heart moment with your biggest emo boy.
I do also really still hope that that moment is true, and that he carries around Tom's guitar but never actually uses it and uses a flute or something instead. Because I really loved that characterization that he was like, every single time he saw the guitar or the harp in the books, he would think, this is not for a farm boy's fumbly fingers to play. And every single time he would be like, nope, that's not mine. That's not mine. I
Do your
can't do
Thom
it.
impression one more time.
No, because it's the problem is my Thom impression right now is is Michael Kramer doing Thom, which is wrong because I mean, Michael Kramer doing Thom is great, but my Michael Kramer doing Thom is not great.
Well, okay. So outside of Thom, because I'll give my final opinions here on this, because again, we didn't see
Please
much.
do.
We literally saw him sitting there with a guitar sitting on his lap. So that was like super quick, but it was awesome to finally see Thom.
I wish I was the guitar.
My big
So anyway, here's Wonderwall.
well, yeah, that's a great meme, by the way. Great meme. I can't wait to actually hear him sing, because here's the thing with it that we haven't gotten yet is supposedly he's amazing on the guitar and he's a great singer. And supposedly whatever he sings in the show is good. So I'm kind of excited to see that. I'm hoping it really is. Like, I'm hoping that is a memorable moment. My overarching, like, when watching that clip, and I guess all three of the clips, so to kind of group these in together real quick, is even though you can see some of the changes, I feel like the overall quality of the shots in the show, like, this show feels really expensive. That doesn't mean it'll be good, right? That doesn't automatically mean it's great, but it feels really expensive. Am I right there? Like, what do you?
No, that's one of the things that I'm actually really excited about, because while it, as you said, money does not equal good. And there have been so many little independent projects that have actually been amazing because they focus on the things that they do well. But it does show a confidence that Amazon has in this project. It shows a confidence that, or a monetary stake that Amazon has in this show. And while I'm obviously not saying that they are, again, guaranteed to do it well because they have a financial stake. I mean, there have been plenty of, again, shows that you've talked about that have ended really badly, that have been extremely high budget. But at the same time, it shows a commitment. It shows a commitment to doing the show well.
I've said this before. I really, here's how I'm judging this. I will be very critical if the time comes to be very critical. And where they will lose me is not on plot changes, because I had accepted the fact that we're going to get plot changes long ago. Okay. What the two things that will cause me to flip out and sort of turn on it would be, number one, if the writing is terrible. So, like, if the dialogue is clunky, if it's all exposition, I mean, if it feels super generic, like, that to me can be pretty bad. Now, we don't have any indications that that's going to be the case, just to be clear, but, like, that would be one thing. And then the other thing would be if they screw up the characters, the tone of the characters. And one of my big fears, and this was actually addressed in the Comic-Con panel, so I was really happy about this. My fear after the trailer was that, and even after, if I had just seen the trailer and this clip, I would be concerned, because they make Nynaeve into a badass. And Nynaeve is a badass, but, like, she's also extremely insecure, right? And she's also like all her snapping at people, like, she almost looks too motherly in the shots that I've seen, where she's just kind of smiling and, like, you know, she's defending everybody, which is very Nynaeve. But I was worried they were just going to lean into badass female character and miss what makes Nynaeve my favorite character in the series. And that's her arc from going from insecure wisdom, right, who has had to earn everything and is insecure about her station, to being total badass who at the end of the story is like, screw it. if you don't want me to heal people, I won't be an Aes Sedai. I'm not going to not help people just to walk slow and look cool. Right? That's the arc that she goes through, and she comes into her own where she feels secure in who she is, and she is a badass. And I think Nynaeve is just, that's one of the reasons she's my favorite character. And if they had made her some super secure, badass woman at the very beginning of the show, you miss out on that character development. It'd be the same as if you made Matt a fully formed, mature character at the beginning of the story, right? Or Rand crazy at the beginning. Like, you need the arc to start. And that's where, to me, like, if they can do whatever they want with the plot, as long as the characters, to me, remain true. That was the big fear for me. And I think they addressed it, because basically Zoe said, like, Nynaeve is such an insecure. I mean, she went into this whole diatribe about that. And I'm like, God, she's going to be good at this. And the writing sounds great, because they nailed that. Like, that is the driving piece of her character, is that everybody has always looked down on her for being too young to be doing what she's doing. She's not good enough, right? And she carries that internally. And the way that she hides it is by trying to snap at people.
Well, it also helps that a lot of the cast is actively reading the series. Like, I think we saw, like, Joshua's, like, in Path of Daggers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, he's on Knife of
Zoe
Dreams.
or Madeline, Knife of Dreams, yeah.
Yeah.
And Zoe or Madeline is, like, right behind him. Like, they're actually reading the series, so they're going to be able to look and see how the characters act and change throughout the entirety of the series. And they'll be like, okay, we get what the book fans are looking for. So they'll be able to help mitigate that. And, of course, you got Rafe and Sarah and everybody already, so...
No, and I do. Chad is actually making a good point. There are a number of people who are talking about it. There was a moment in the trailer where Nynaeve has this terrified look on her face in the woods, and insecurities are an insanely difficult thing to show in a trailer where you don't have acting,
right?
Where you don't actually have any, like, if it was a Nynaeve trailer, like if it was 2 dedicated minutes of Nynaeve's character, then maybe you'd be able to pull something off. But in a, oh, this is just a teaser trailer for you to get hyped for the show, they're probably not going to spend a full, 30 seconds on Nynaeve being like, oh, but do I do this? Oh, but no, I need to do this. Oh, like,
Yep. Well, it does bring up an interesting point, and this is going to be the difficulty of adapting a lot of this stuff. Is in the books we get their inner monologues. We know that Nynaeve tells herself that she isn't brave, and then she makes brave choices, right? That's kind of how they go. And Matt tells himself he's not responsible and then makes responsible choices, like, every single time. Like, that's just who he is.
No bloody Lord. Now let me lead these men into battle.
Yeah. And the difficulty is going to be the show, not tell. One thing that I thought was really good from the clip that they released at Comic-Con is watching the interactions with the facial expressions between Yosha and Madeline, and how you could almost see everything that's gone down without them even having to say anything. Like, that is good acting and good writing, in my opinion. Just to be able to kind of really piece it together just by watching their face. How, like, Rand is pacing around the room. Like, he's not sitting with his friends or his family. He's pacing and staring at her 10 feet away, and they haven't talked for the whole day. Right?
Yep. And
she makes eye contact and then walks away, and it's like, why is she ignoring me? Like, anyways, I love that kind of thing. So that kind of thing gives me hope. I never really didn't have it, but
sure,
it's more things that give me, I suppose, confidence that they're doing a really good job.
Yep.
Let's do this. Let me go ahead and throw up we'll go backwards here. Let me throw up the
Don't
logo.
throw up. It'll be okay. I promise. Don't throw up.
All right, let's do that.
There have been false dragons before. His strength is more than anything I've ever seen. There have been false dragons before. His strength is more than anything I've ever seen.
Oh, I left Daniel out. There he is. Okay. God, every one of these is good. Before I speak, initial thoughts on that one. On Logan.
Andrew, do you want to take this one?
Motherfucking Logain. Like, come on. Like, this was like, we know it's not the case, but we're going to claim that this was definitely a birthday present for us. Because it's dropped Friday while we were doing our event for like our 3rd anniversary celebration. So whether you realize it or not, Wheel of Time on Prime, thank you.
Happy birthday.
And we know you love us. Oh, no, it's really cool because we get to see. So one, remember back when the trailer came and I paused that one frame and I was like, hey, look at Logain's back. That's definitely not hair. That's definitely the taint. And it developed into like, well, it's either the taint or it's taint-covered sardine. We give you taint-covered sardine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's... Now, will it change? What I'm interested to see...
it will. It's got to.
I mean, it has to. I'm interested to see how they do it. If it's going to change and then now it's just going to look like male and female channelers are pulling from the same source, or is there still going to be any kind of difference? Because based off of what it looks like the base power that both use is the same. Just men have dirty taint on theirs.
Dirty taint.
Dirty taint. That schmegma. That schmegma on their power.
So we talked about this a little. Our podcast isn't out yet; it comes out tomorrow. But we talked about this a little on our recording. I think that we have a lot to be seen yet for channeling. Like, I think what we have currently already seen is how they're going to portray it at the beginning. I would be shocked if we still didn't see the 5 powers at some point, but I don't think they want to introduce that up front because that just... Think about this. We have the 1 power. We have the 5 powers, right? And then we've got Sidar and Sidine, and we've got the true power, right? All of these things can be kind of confusing to somebody. And so, like, I think them just doing this is what Sidar is right now. And look, Sidine is covered in this black shit. I think that is a good way to start until maybe they explain more. And one of the reasons I think this is, if you look at the posters, they've got little strands in the 5 different colors. Like, and it does look like the channeling. So those like the way that they're woven together looks a lot like channeling. So yes, I think that we'll get more of the 5 powers. And then, but then I also think that we're going to get, when Sidine is finally cleansed, I think the big reveal will be, it'll go from black to all of a sudden it's pure white from Sidine channelers. So hold on, we got some. Indeed, thank you here. They could make the taint look oily and have it lighter and softer after the cleansing. I agree. I still think that the darkness will go away because you can see the white interwoven with the black. So,
maybe what they're actually going to do is that black thing you see is Sidine, and the oily taint on it is the white.
It doesn't seem super oily, but I can maybe get there. Adam, on the Dusty Wheel, Ridima said she believed and she hoped that Egwene would replace Rand as the chosen one in the show. I think this subverts Rand's arc. Thoughts? While I think it's a cool idea, I don't think it makes sense in the context of the Wheel of Time. That would be a dramatic change. And it's not that I'm anti-Egwene. It's that I think that channeling being the chosen one that's doomed to go mad and die is sort of what the chosen one is in the Wheel of Time. And I think that would be such a fundamental change. It's not so much the fact that she's a woman, but she channels Sidar. And it's not tainted, right? So, like, I do think that would be a problem. I'll tell you what I would have less of a problem with, although I actually think it would be I think it would be a bad thing for Egwene's character arc, honestly, but I would have less of a problem if they chose to make her a Ta'Veren. That being said, I think that her being a Ta'Veren would take away from her accomplishments because it would come across as she really actually is a Mary Sue now, not somebody who's just accomplished. So Yeah, I don't. I think that while that would subvert the arc, I don't think it would make a lot of sense for the Wheel of Time story. That's probably how I would put it. So yes, it would subvert it, but I don't think it's a good idea. That's, I guess, where I'm at.
Yeah, I feel like if you
don't-
actually made that change, you would have to change so many other fundamentals of the story that you might as well just be doing a different story at that point. And so again, while I am not in any way suggesting, oh, you shouldn't do that for Egwene because powerful women aren't allowed to exist. No, fuck that. I would be totally fine with Rand being a girl, being a powerful woman, doing all of this cool stuff, you know, all of that as a female, except that in the world and in the environment, that's just not the way the story works. And so many fundamental things about the world need to change to make it so that it's Egwene, that it just doesn't work for this story. It just doesn't work for this environment and this world.
Yeah. I think if you do that, you remove essentially all of Egwene's agency that makes her the badass that she is. So now everything that she does is like, oh, Egwene is awesome because she figures out this and she does this and she resists this, is now all under the plot armor. At the end of the day, you can say Rand survived this and survived that and learned this and did that because he's prophecy, because he's Ta'veren, because he's meant to do it. You can say that he didn't figure it out on his own, but
See, if I do it this way, I can't see. I always can wear it a little differently.
I like it.
Oops.
that was a slightly different shade of what the fuck.
Egwene's story arc works for her story because she's very much not the chosen one. And see, I agree with that. I think it takes away from Egwene's character if you make her the chosen one. Here's what I'm very much a proponent of. I want the Wheel of Time to have badass female characters that are completely independent of men, that are not used as props to drive a male story arc, that are not like, I want strong agency, strong females, intelligent, like every way, right? And I think Wheel of Time can provide that. But I don't think being the chosen one, I actually think Rand is not, I mean, Rand is a great character. Let me be very frank on that. Rand is a very well-written character. But I don't know that he's a good, I would argue that Egwene is a far, far better leader than him. She's far more intelligent than him. You disagree with me, huh, Daniel?
Oh, not okay.
I think she's a better
I
leader.
disagree with the far better. I don't actually disagree with the. I think that they're actually on equal footing for completely different reasons. That their focus on what they do is just comes from two completely different places, and Rand does what he does from this way, and Egwene does what she does from this way, and it's kind of like comparing Saidin and Saidar, where I would say that they are completely equal, but they're just so different, and what they're being asked to do is so different, and who they're being asked to lead is so different, and their styles of leadership are so different, and their mentors are so different that it's throwing Rand under the bus a lot to be like, man, Egwene is so much smarter than you and so much better of a leader. I think that both of them just have huge merits and detractions.
Well, I think the bigger difference is that I think Egwene is a natural born leader. The thing, whenever she takes leadership positions, the things she does, she naturally takes in counsel. She naturally moves to make action, whereas Rand is very reactionary. He is a trial by fire leader. He becomes a leader because he has no other choice, or at least feels he has no other choice. I'm the dragon. I have to do this. I don't want to do it. He never wants to be a leader. That's where we get the scenes where there's the Aiel and Kyrian, that he's pissed at Ruark and Berlane for making him make the decision to kill the guy, because Rand still doesn't want to be a leader and will push on the task to anybody else he can to avoid having to be a leader. Because he is I will do it if I have to, whereas Egwene is, someone has to do it, and I'm the best suited. I'll go and do it.
Which
So,
again, I will throw out this is all just opinions. I mean, there is obviously no actually right or wrong answer. And that you may actually be saying that the reluctant leader is a worse leader. If that's what you're saying, I don't even
I
really
I think
disagree
Rand
with
is
that
objectively an
statement.
awful leader. I really think if you take away Rand is what I would refer to as a positional leader. The only reason anybody follows Rand is because he has power. People follow Egwene when she didn't have any. Okay, and there is a difference in that. Now, again, you can attribute a lot of that to the way RJ and Brandon wrote them, but Rand makes rash emotional decisions. He does not seek consensus. He doesn't, I mean, he is a dictator of sorts. Okay. He does not pull together coalitions. He doesn't share his plans well. He's a horrible communicator. Flip
Until
it
the
around. So is
Until the
Egwene.
end.
What's that?
I said until the end. He does at
Until
the end. After
and
his
he gets better at the
Bodhisattva
end when
moment.
he becomes Luce Theron. But Egwene, on the other hand, does a lot of those things. I know I'm triggering you, and I love it.
Yeah, it's
I think Egwene is a
hurtful.
far better leader than Rand.
Okay, so
Egwene-
I actually do want to ask you a question because there was
Ask
one
away.
thing that you said in there that I thought was really interesting.
Let's hear it.
I recognize that Rand has a lot more followers because he is the Dragon Reborn. That's absolutely true. 100%. Curious in the first couple of books, Rand doesn't actually have any real power. And he leaves with Ingtar to go off and find the Horn of Valir and to recover Matt's dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And Huron and Loyal are both following Rand, not yet knowing that he's the Dragon Reborn, and doing it very fiercely.
Okay,
Would you
so let's back up
say
and ask
that sort
question.
of doesn't count?
I don't think it counts
So
at all, and here's why. First of all, Rand was put in charge. Everybody was told, all the Shienarans were told that Rand was number 2.
All the Shienarans,
which Huron was one of.
Sure.
Second of all, they thought he was a lord. Okay, Lord Rand. And then
Loyal
also,
knows
here,
he's
let me
not.
throw this in there. He's a Taviran. Okay. That was a lot of the push and pull. He did nothing to earn that. What did Rand do to earn that? What did
he
he
is
do?
an
Give me one thing
incredibly
he did.
fast and solid friend to Loyal, and Loyal follows him because he earns it. And then Huron, when they get
He was
separated,
a good
from
friend
the
to
group,
Loyal when he told
Rand
Loyal to fuck off, basically, right in Faldara. He was trying to get rid of Loyal and told Loyal to fuck off, basically.
Yeah, he also told his 2 other best friends to
My
do that.
point on it, though,
because
is Loyal
he
had
was-
nothing to go on there. Loyal doesn't know that. He's just blindly following Rand, is my point. Okay?
Okay, well, okay.
That's
In the
my point.
story, we are not told that Egwene is Taviran, and I have always strongly disagreed with that. I think that Egwene actually does have a Mary Sue vibe going, that her and Nynaeve absolutely are very Mary Sue. And, if you're going to just throw Rand under the bus, that he doesn't get any choice and is just a Taviran and is just, people only follow him because the pattern needs him and people only follow him because he's the Dragon Reborn, I would absolutely say that people, for the vast majority of the series, often follow Egwene for nearly the same reason. That she ended up thrown into regular positions and taught by Swan Sanche and done all of this different stuff. And instead of really being so much that she herself takes on the mantle and different things like that, that she is thrown very much into similar situations to Rand, and that she ends up going ahead and getting the tools to deal with it regardless, and that they are very similar characters. They are the male and female versions of each other, and they don't always make the same decisions. They are absolutely not mirrors in they always do the same thing, but I think that they are almost always put into extremely similar situations, and they both come out incredibly successfully.
Andrew, what are your thoughts? You look like you're doing there privately while you're entertained watching 2 cats fight here. So,
Well, it is very entertaining. But the organized podcast host in me says this sounds like a great independent episode.
oh, it sure does.
Sure,
Of who's the better
accurate.
leader?
It's a
And so the
debate I would
question-
win easily, but it's fair.
Yeah. So the thought that comes to mind is the thought that there's more to Logain Ablar than meets the eye.
We are off
Going
topic,
back to
but
what we were talking about.
I'll say one more thing because it's my show and I get the last word.
That's true.
When I come on your show, you get the last word. Actually, no, I get it then too.
That's
So-
what it means to be Nae'Blis.
Look, it's not that Rand is Rand is a great character. Just in terms of leadership skills, and I'm somebody that that's what I do for a living is I work in that field. If you look at leadership ability, Rand doesn't demonstrate any of it. Rand demonstrates positional leadership throughout the entire thing. It's the worst form of leadership is somebody that relies on their position or their power to get people to do what they want. Okay. Egwene, on the other hand, almost never relies on the fact that she's powerful to get what she wants. Now, that you can attribute that to the writing. You can. I understand what you're saying, but if I'm talking about the way people in the books are written and the way they react to people, Egwene commands people to follow her because of who she is and how she treats them more than Rand. Rand, people follow him because of who he is and because of prophecies that said they had to and honor. Like he treats the Aiel like shit and they follow him anyway because they have to. It's their honor to do it. Okay. So there is a difference in that. That's kind of the last thing in here. Let's hit Kaid. I've always interpreted as Egwene turning herself into a Deveran by her own willpower, since her will is her superpower. And look, Egwene is not a
bard.
Mary Sue as much as the
charismatic.
characters around Egwene are written to be stupid sometimes. Like they lose some of the Aes Sedai become dumb. The 300-year-old women become stupid to let Egwene take power, is what it is. But I don't think Egwene is a Mary Sue. I think there are legitimate reasons in the books for her to have the skill she does. Her time with the Wise Ones, her time with the Shan-Shan really mold her. They really do. And she has some PTSD from it even. So
That I will.
I think there's all valid things in that. Saidin, dominate the power, Saidar, embrace. That's actually a very interesting point in their leadership styles too. Interesting.
I mean, what does Rand have to do most of the time to get people to listen to him? I am the dragon. You will do as I say, or I will burn you and your entire lineage down. Is essentially what he has to do to get the Tyrion High Lords into gear to do what he needs. Like, I don't care how much you hate Ilion, you will send them barges with grain, or I will burn you. Those are your options. And that's why half of them fuck off to the countryside. Because they're like, I don't want to die, but I don't want to do what he says, so we're just going to run away.
I love how we got here from Logain, by the way.
Right?
Yeah. It's almost
Andrew
like
even tried
things
to
about
direct
Logain.
us back.
Yeah,
Oh,
almost like things about Logain bring you back to talks of division.
Interesting. Why is that?
I don't know, because there's only a whole divided civil war in the Black Tower in the books.
So let me let's hit on this. I want to hit on the Logain trailer again real quick because I think they're playing games with us in that, and I think they're doing this deliberately. Like, who does he look up at and see? At least the way it's framed in the shots in the trailer, Matt.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how it's going to go down in the books or in the movie?
It's not just any Matt. That looks very clearly to be Dagger.
Yeah, that's Dagger Matt. Do you think that's how it'll go down?
I think, given what we know about Logain's talent, I think there's a very good chance that it will be. And if Rand isn't there somewhere nearby, if Rand is there nearby, he's going to look up at Matt and kind of chuckle, and then look over and see this blazing sun that is Rand, and then just shit himself laughing. But if not, then it's just going to be like, huh, interesting. I sit in the cage, but the piece of hammered looking shit over there is free. Okay.
Well, yes. What are your thoughts, Daniel, before I speak?
My thoughts are, I absolutely have a lot of confidence, and the fact that we've already gotten certain information about the we want who the dragon is to be a mystery definitely makes me feel very much like I don't necessarily think that this will be the way that it happens in the show, but I think that it easily could be because it throws you off the scent. It absolutely makes you think the entire time that you're watching, at least one of these at least 3 boys, if not, depending on how they do it, maybe also these 2 girls that are all coming out of Emmons Field. Any one of them could be the chosen one. Any one of them could be the person that we are going to sort of latch onto for the ending of the battle between good and evil. And so giving Logain looking up at one of the others and laughing tracks, even if it's not necessarily how I think they will do it.
Right.
It definitely works.
So yeah, it is. I think they're definitely playing games. I don't think he's looking at Matt. I think that's probably a different shot they're stringing together. I do think they don't want us to know, like, they're definitely playing down Rand as being the main character. I think Rand will have a bigger role than people think he will, to be honest with you. I think they're deliberately doing this in the marketing material. I think it will become clear that Rand is the chosen one. They just don't want us to know that yet. So interesting, like, thought on that. I'm going to hit some of these comments real quick here. Welcome back, Andrew. Sarah said Egwene also slowly wins over Aja by Aja when she's captured inside the White Tower. Influence leadership. Point Nae'Blis. Egwene achieved a lot on her own merit, but with Rand had a lot on his shoulders and he couldn't afford to lead people. He needed a firm authority. Point Daniel. And again, that's not you're not wrong on that. It's not wrong
it's
that
just fun
Rand.
to point.
Well, I would argue that Rand had a more difficult time as well. Like, Rand had to conquer people, whereas Egwene just had to win them over. And there is a difference there. That being said,
that is accurate. That is absolutely.
Let's hit this other one. Amanda said, I think if we're talking about Rand as a leader versus Egwene, Rand is almost too good of a person at first. He can't separate compassion from leading. And that's also true. What I think is difficult with leadership, and I again, not to get into my day job, but I work with organizations. Like, I do leadership consulting and I work with larger organizations trying to help them understand their leadership structure and something like that. The thing that a lot of people don't understand about people that are in leadership positions is a lot of times they have to make decisions that there's no win in them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to bite your tongue and not say something. Sometimes you have to speak up and make a decision that's going to hurt some people, but not hurt a ton of people. Like, they're not necessarily evil, but people will always, no matter how much it makes sense to do the thing they have to do, people are going to hate them for their decision no matter what they do. And that tends to come the larger your influence, right? The larger your position of power, the more your decisions have to be like that. And the more disconnected you actually have to be, which is why CEOs can get a bad rap. And then I think in this case, Rand, right?
Well, I also do want to throw out, I respect the shit out of your experience, and I'm not trying to downplay it at all. But it is also very much different if you were doing, leadership training, or since you do leadership trainings at companies, if you were doing leadership training in the military, I don't think those are actually the same leaderships. Sure. I think that there are aspects of both. Absolutely. I absolutely think that there are aspects that good leaders have in both areas. But I think that, leadership in business, leadership in a church, leadership in wartime, leadership in this and leadership in that, they're not all the same thing, even though they all have some similar aspects. And so definitely going, saying, well, this is what makes a good leadership for the White Tower. Mm-hmm. The company that is the White Tower is incredibly valid. I agree with that 100%. I don't necessarily think that it works everywhere. And I definitely think that to say that Rand, for example, is not a great CEO is, I would argue that, well, he's not trying to be a CEO. He's trying to be a general. He's trying to be a king. He's trying to be whatever. And those are two different things. And again, you are obviously more than welcome to disagree with that statement and disagree with the whole thing overall. Because again, this is all just opinions and debate that's super fun anyway. No, but I do bring up a great point that those are different.
You really do. And I've worked with military units before, actually. So there is a difference.
Well, fuck me then. No,
But when you talk about like the military, you're right. You want a command structure that's pretty, but that doesn't. Again, that's still positional leadership is a form of leadership, but it's not the ideal
It's true.
form. Okay,
Agreed.
you would rather have somebody that you follow because you want to, not because you have to. Right? You achieve more when you're with somebody that you want to follow. Right?
Absolutely.
There's a difference in that, and not to go down this road and just talk about this all uniquely, but like because it would be a topic for another. I've actually considered making that video before about leadership in the Wheel of Time, but I really do think Egwene, of all the characters in the story, I think exhibits the best forms of leadership. I would argue Matt is a better leader than the other two boys. Perrin is terrible, although some people think he'd be good, but Perrin's terrible, and Rand is pretty awful. So
it's terrible.
Anyways, I want to move on because we do have a couple other things to talk about.
We haven't even talked about seeing the Galdean soldiers.
I know, right? What did you think of them?
Well, I thought they looked pretty badass. One of the great things that we have in our Discord is an unofficial fact checker that loves to take screenshots and post images and stuff. And they posted one of the Galdean troops with a description. Mainly the sigil was a three 6-pointed silver stars, arranged one above, two below the stars or the silver stars. And then you can see in the scene where they launch these spears at Logain, which he like effortlessly just backhands away with the power.
Mm-hmm.
You can see on their shields the sigil of Galdean. So these are definitely Galdean soldiers we're seeing, which, if I'm remembering correctly from history class way back in the day, seems very reminiscent of like older ancient Islamic militaries common to the Middle East. Just that kind of the plain dome hat with the single palm up top and the chainmail kind of cowl, I guess. Is that the word?
I accidentally clicked it before I meant to.
Cowl.
I didn't mean to put that up while you were talking, Andrew.
Yeah, you were fine. I was looking over at the picture.
That have nothing to do with what you're talking about.
It was
Ignore
military
him,
related. He's
just
talking
let
about soldiers.
Amber-
It says military in the word.
I was not actually. I just thought they looked. That was actually probably one thing I didn't like. I thought they looked too medieval. That was probably my take. Is that just the domed helmet? It just looked a little too medieval to me. Not that is the medieval style armor, but it felt that way. But you're right. It was very. I
think ancient Islamic militaries had
Arabic.
the same style for quite a while. Yeah, or Arabic armies rather.
Yeah, real quick, I want to hit this. Adam, in the military, agree with Daniel. Egwene and Nynaeve even have that conversation about respecting the position. A lot of bad leaders in the forces, though. So you guys aren't wrong. The basis of the military leadership is you need to follow the chain of command, right? So the basis of the military is positional leadership. But again, that doesn't change the fact that the best leaders move beyond that. Does that make sense? Like, yes, you have to have that, but the best leaders don't only rely on positional leadership. They have people that follow also because they want to. That you respect. Like if you had a commanding officer that you totally disrespected completely, well, don't comment because you're on live TV. But anyways,
please don't.
We'll
curiosity,
end that conversation right now. But
okay, yep.
I just because I don't want to hide up in it again. But okay, I want to hit on a few things. We're going to go a little over. Are you guys, either of you, pressed for time?
No,
you might go an hour, but
I don't go into work until 9 o'clock in the morning anyway. So
I want to play the other clip on the Shadowspawn, and then I want to hit on a couple things before we end here. So let me go ahead and throw that up.
Armies of Trollocs and Fades, 1 million strong, will wash across the land, killing and eating every person they find.
Then you can't outrun a Fade.
Armies of Trollocs and Fades, 1 million strong, will wash across the land, killing and eating every person they find.
Then you can't outrun a Fade.
So badass. So
I
badass.
really wish that with the line "you can't outrun a fade," they had just shown the fade stepping out of the shadows with like a midnight black blade.
The
Got
fades look
chills.
better than I thought they
And they're
would.
multiplying.
What did you guys what do you think of the Shadowspawn? So obviously we got Trollocs, and Fade, sorry. What do you think of them?
I'm excited. I think that the Trollocs look very much like what I expected, like what I hoped in terms of they do look varied. They obviously have a lot of similarities, which also makes sense, but they definitely look varied. I think that we are actually going to get a surprising amount of different animals and things with the Trollocs, especially because we all know that in movie world, it'd be way easier to just make them all look like Minotaurs and stay goodnight. But I think that they're actually going to give us very varied Trollocs. And while the Fades are not what I expected, I'm very happy with them.
What did you expect? Like, what's different?
I mean, granted, part of this is because of Lord of the Rings, and I was a little worried about this as well, but I definitely just kind of imagined Nazgul with slightly different, like, I don't know, maybe some different decorations, like that kind of thing, but very Nazgul. That was what I expected, and this isn't not Nazgul. Like, it's not so far away from that it doesn't also match what the books is, because I mean, Robert Jordan kind of wrote Nazgul-y things, but they are different enough that it doesn't feel just like Nazgul.
Agreed. I agree with
that.
There
was only one place I didn't like the Fade, and that was in the second movie poster that came out.
Yeah.
With the Fade above the Will of Time logo. I'm like, why
that just
is
looked
Lord
like Voldemort
on the...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, at a glance, this looks like another Harry Potter poster. Still is a good poster. It's just at a glance, it was like, he's back.
The Trollocs, I was hoping the first couple that we saw looked like Minotaurs, which I was not cool with. Like, I don't want that to be the vision, is that these a bunch of Minotaurs running around. But I do love that they all look varied. I mean, the other thing is they're not shying away from gore. Like, a dude's head gets sliced clean off and there's blood shooting everywhere. Like, I like that. I want them to make the Shadowspawn super impactful. So I'm glad people are going to die in the Two Rivers, because it almost feels like there was no real damage other than a few fires in the books. And like, shit, if 100 Trollocs attack the village, people are going to die or be really hurt. And there are people hurt. They just don't talk about it. So the idea that we're seeing people's heads get cut off and things, like, I like that.
I do also appreciate the fact that in the books they even kind of mention that none of these Trollocs were expecting an Aes Sedai and a warder to be there, and so that dramatically helps. But again, 100 Trollocs and a Fade, even surprised by an Aes Sedai and a warder, would still do damage. Like, serious damage.
Yeah, totally.
Right. You're literally attacking a farm of roofers and farmers and people
on a
that
festival
really
night.
Good cider. Yeah, on the festival night.
They're
Nobody's
all drunk.
Everybody, literally everybody in that space, except for, as we find out later, Tam, Moraine, Lan, Padden Fane, and Thom. Everybody else thinks Trollocs are a myth. There's 5 people that are like, yeah, they're not a myth. But still, most of the other, like, I think Moraine and Lan expected something once they saw the Raven.
Yep.
Padden Fane, I think we even found out later that even Padden Fane didn't know it was going down. So of that, there's only 2 people that even slightly expect anything to happen.
Real quick, back to the Fade. I love the look of I'm actually happy with the way they've changed it. I do like the teeth because it adds more to the horror element, and so I'll be interested to see how the Fades move. Like, do they CGI it a little bit where it seems off? Because that's sort of like, they can do that. You know, like, I'm sure you guys have seen The Ring. Like, the way that they make the girl walk in The Ring, it's so unnatural that it's unnerving. Like, it's freaky looking because it's not natural. And I'm not saying they need to copy that, like Fades need to do the little ring walk, but like, if they can manipulate it in a way where the way they move seems completely unnatural. Like, I think that'll be a really cool thing. I really love the horror aspects of Eye of the World is basically it. So
There is a word for things where things look almost human, but there's just enough off where it's not quite. Is it like the uncanny valley phenomenon kind of thing? Where like
I
the
never
fade
heard
looks
that,
I think
the fade
Uncanny
that
Valley
just like
is. Well, I was going to say, I
The
think
idea.
Uncanny Valley it is specifically for androids and robotics. But yes, you are correct that it is
that's the idea
that's
I'm
what
thinking.
it is. But I think that's
Mhm.
specific to robotics, and I don't know
Yeah.
whether that's because we just don't have that many things that are like insanely close to human, but not, or whether it's actually specific to robotics. But yes, Uncanny Valley. Oh, it's also video games as well.
Yeah.
They have talked about that in video games as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm getting. Like the way they move,
Mm-hmm.
like that's kind of what they do. And they're like they look close enough to human, but there's something there's something always wrong about it. That
Mhm.
something's not quite right. That you can't necessarily always say exactly what it is. You can't really point it out, and it just inherently unnerves you, which is part of like the whole calls against like making AI and like robots look too human, because the idea is we'll always be able to tell that there's a difference and we'll always be uncomfortable with them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But I
actually
kind of see that with the
Uh,
fade here. Like you just see someone in a cloak walking, looks like they have lips, but there's just something in your head, like for Rand and everybody else that are like, I don't like it. No.
yeah.
This is something I think is kind of true. Celtic
Yes.
brings this up. The problem is going to be hard to make it not look like bad CGI if the cloak it doesn't move. Like that.
they make
That's
it more
very
wispy?
difficult, I think.
And what if they make it more wispy in its movements than just unmoving? That might be a little easier.
Yeah, I think they can make it look weird, like unnaturally moving,
Yes.
but not
Like,
necessarily. Yeah, like, and I hope they do. Like I said, I really want this. I want them to play up the horror aspects because I feel like Eye of the World, for the first half of it, very much reads like a horror novel. Like they are constantly on the run. They are constantly being chased. You feel the anxiety and the tension in Rand and Matt's scenes. Like the more and more you read it, the more and more like you understand why. Like, yeah, it's the dagger, but Matt's also getting paranoid because everywhere they go, somebody tries to kill them. Like that's a very creepy, weird, and you don't have any place to sleep, and you don't have food. Like think about how you would react if everywhere you went, people were trying to kill you, and you couldn't get food, and you didn't have money, and you had to walk to Camelin. Like,
Also, I just want to throw out there because I've heard this a number of times, and I actually really appreciate the comment, but it is also they specifically say that the wind doesn't touch the Fade's cloak, but they don't say anything about when the Fade moves, its cloak doesn't move with it. They
true.
don't say that when it walks around the cloak doesn't move. They just say the wind doesn't affect the cloak. And that's what Rand notices is wrong with the Black Rider on the road. But again, they never make the claim that when the Fade is sword fighting, its cloak is just hanging down to the floor doing nothing. It's just that the wind doesn't move the cloak.
That's a good point. Any other thoughts on Shadowspawn from the clip?
Nope.
No,
They're
it looked pretty
badass,
good.
and I'm excited.
So I want to pivot. I want to pivot to something else because everybody has probably heard about this by this point, but I feel like it's really cool because we get to talk about this finally. We've been kind of hinting at it for a while. We're doing another con. WatCon. Like we're all part of this. And
For fans by fans, bitch.
I'll tell you what, I'm super excited about it. And I'll tell you kind of where the genesis, if you guys want a little bit more of a heartfelt look at where this came from. First of all, I'll say this, like Jordan Con was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Like I got to hang out with these two. We had beers and drinks and things and talks.
Actually, where seeing you in person, I felt better about how the Trollocs are going to look.
Yeah, did you?
Tall ass bastard.
Dude, you're tall ass bastard too. I want to hear it.
Yeah, but you're still
you're
taller
about
than
my
me,
size.
right?
I was gonna say you're actually almost my size. But you know, it was really cool because we had so much fun at it, and then we're thinking like, gosh, it's like a lot of us were like, I want to go to another one of these. I want to go to another one of these. And we all are. I know the three of us will be back at JordanCon. So I'm going to be there for 4 days. I usually go a day before and a day late and hang out, and it's a blast. And if you guys are not going to JordanCon and you don't have a ticket, I think they might actually be out of them. I don't know. But if you can get one, you can go. But we just thought, like, wouldn't it be cool? I think the fandom is growing to such a point that if it's going to be a time to have another one, now's the time to do it. And so I'm kind of excited to get to 2. And I know for some people, like a different date, it'll help you get to 1 if you can't get to JordanCon, or if you can't get to WotCon, get to JordanCon. Like, it just gives a couple more opportunities. But I'm super excited about it because of the people, number one, that we're working with. Like, there's a lot of fans involved in helping the planning of this. Some of them are in the chat right now. I think I saw Dana snooping around, and Dana's working in a pretty big role actually in the con. Andrew is our director of people for the convention, which is really cool. You're
tell the people where to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Andrew's got a team of people, and I think this is the part that I can't wait to share with you guys is the number of people and the things that they're working on. Like, I'll brag on Andrew for a second. He's overseeing a team of people that is like looking at accessibility for the con. We're trying to cover what our goal with this is to make the most inclusive and welcoming con, especially because there's going to be a lot of new fans into this fandom.
I'd say like the first sub position. I say sub position like not director level position, but within each subcommittee position. I think the first one we filled was a director of English, an accessibility coordinator. So we have an accessibility coordinator that, like, their predominant focus, in addition to helping us with all the other stuff for the people committee, is making sure that we are doing everything we can to make every bit of the con as accessible to people both there and online as we can. Yep.
We're going to have an online contingent. We'll be releasing, guys. We started a round of fundraising because it's a new con. So we didn't like come into the year like with money other than the money that we've kind of all privately forked over for it. But we did a round of fundraising, and I'll tell you what, we totally underestimated the desire for this. We thought we might get a couple people, and it's going nuts. And I want to hit this because I did hear the same thing, but I didn't know it was for sure. JordanCon is going to be releasing more tickets, so they're doing it in rounds, guys, and get them while they like. The moment they're up, get them and book the hotel rooms.
Yes.
But you definitely, by the way, want to stay at the hotel at JordanCon. Like, you don't want to be anywhere else but at the hotel. Just FYI. It's worth it.
I had to leave first night to go back to my other hotel.
Bad idea.
Not the way to go.
Yeah. Definitely stay at the hotel. Fill up that room block. But I was just going to say, like, we will be releasing more information here soon. But in our first, like, our fundraising round, guys, we were expecting to, like, take weeks to get there. We filled our fundraising goal in literally 9 hours. This community is crazy. From 9 hours of announcing it, we raised $12,000. And I think as of right now, we are right at our stretch goal of 17.
Yeah, we're $270 away.
It is nuts. Absolutely nuts. And so what that's, we'll be able to talk a little bit more here once some of the things are ironed out. I don't want to announce anything that isn't for sure yet. But I think there will be some fun, interesting things happening, and I can't wait to share more with you. So I wanted to hit on that. Guys, real quick before we bounce out of here, how do they find the Black Tower podcast? And what do you guys do on the Black Tower podcast?
So the easiest way is to just hit up our website, www.blacktowerpod.com. For those of you that are already familiar with Nae'Blis' site, The Great Blight, just go to The Great Blight. Click on the content creators and go to the list of podcasters or YouTubers, and you can find us there, the Black Tower Podcast. So what we do is we do topical discussions, generally complete full series spoilers that span the entirety of the Wheel of Time series. There are a couple episodes here and there where we do non-spoiler stuff, but we always give a spoiler warning pretty early on in the episode before you can get spoiled. But yes, blacktowerpod.com is where you can find us, the Patreon, the merch shops, all that fancy stuff where you help support us with finances. And then, of course, where you can find the podcast itself and links to all that kind of crazy stuff. It's pretty easy to find us. We try to make it pretty easy to find.
They're good guys, honestly. They look
Sometimes we
big and
succeed.
they look big and gruff, but I'll tell you, these guys have hearts of gold. They really do. And
6
so,
feet tall and
not
super
only
strong.
do they make great content, but they're actually even better people. So, like, I don't know anybody that's ever met any of these guys that didn't love them to death, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Like, I've very rarely ever heard anybody that has a negative thing to say about you guys, and so they're definitely worth a listen. Check them out. Thanks for coming on, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having
inviting
us.
us on.
Yeah.
Well, hey, last thing to everybody. After the live shows, we typically hop into the Discord if you want to keep going on the live chat. So if you hop into the Nae'Blis Discord server, the link for that is in the description to this video. We'll be in there voice chatting for a little bit. And yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Whoa.
hello,
Village Mattress, bro.
Dude,
Bro.
Village Mattress.
Bro. I'm going to have to donate now to the con because that money doesn't go to me.
Yes.
For the con, it goes to the business. But yeah, that's awesome though. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Village Mattress has been a supporter of the channel for a while.
Village Mattress has been such a great supporter of the community as a whole. So
Absolutely.
thank you for being so supportive of Nae'Blis. Thank you for being so supportive of the community. You're fucking awesome.
Yes, awesome.
I've also heard that if you find the right link and right section, he's pretty supportive of your sleep as well. So
Yes, very supportive of your sleep.
Very supportive.
Definitely. I can't think of anything funny to say. Okay. Guys, thanks for joining. I'll be in Discord here shortly. Feel free to pop in there. You don't have to wait for me to get in there. So anybody that can pop in, that'd be awesome. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.